Yeah, that's a recipe for and a definition of a disaster. And we've got that on our hands. Now, this video should have been the one that I've been delaying for the last two videos, which was going to be entitled The Last Flight Out. I actually recorded that video this past Sunday morning, and after I recorded it, I said, no, that's not a video. It was a piece of speculation that I'll roll into this video that can be done in about 30 seconds. It didn't need its entire video. The subject matter today does need its entire video. This is one of those important videos in the history of this channel, okay? Before we get to it, just a couple of things real quickly. Somebody left the most ironic comment in the comment section that I've ever seen. Someone who doesn't like me at all. On the video about the rider on the white horse, he said, referring to me, he thinks he's the one sitting on the white horse. Yeah, I do. I do think I'm the rider on the white horse. Because it's the church. All of us should see ourselves as the rider on the white horse. It's the church, 2,000 years worth of the church, riding down through those centuries, fulfilling the command, go out and overcome the world and overcome Satan. You bet you should too. If you're part of the church, you should. By the way, after that video, I wish I had included this little factoid in the video, but I didn't think about it until afterward. The word white appears 17 times in the book of Revelation. Not one time is it ever associated with anything evil. It doesn't even represent a color. It represents a state of purity, of being sanctified, unblemished, holy, pure. That's what it represents. Never once is it attributed to something even that hints of evil. So if you think the white horse is evil, you think it's the Antichrist, you need to really rethink that position. There are only two possibilities. It's either Christ or the church, and it's not Christ because he's not overcoming anything. He overcame. He overcame the world and Satan. The rider on the white horse is going forth to overcome. Now, to show you the disaster that is looming, let's do it this way. Let's go back a few months, I think around November. It was a video entitled, Let's Move the Sixth Seal. I had the first event line or witness line out of place. I didn't even really understand what the first witness line was. When I moved it into its proper position, I realized that's the church age. Oh my goodness, yes, that's the church age. And I mentioned in that video, it felt like you were assembling something and that satisfying snap into place happens. And when we did that, we had the three event lines lined up like this. And what I saw was just a revelation, no pun intended. First of all, I said, look, the sixth seal is lining up now with war in heaven. Isn't that it? Well, wait a minute. The sixth seal talks about stars falling to the earth, and it compares them to the winter figs of a fig tree falling to the earth when hit by a gust of wind. And the winter figs, I would find out, are evil, are no good. They're rotten. You can't eat it. They never ripen. Winter figs are a worthless harvest. This is referring to Satan and his angels, because Satan and his angels get thrown to earth at war in heaven. Look at that. This was not some just strange coincidence where I had a whim and I moved it and it just suddenly worked out. It was supposed to be done this way all along. And what I was seeing for the first time is, look how important war in heaven is. Isn't that something? And look, the Revelation 12 sign is pointing to war in heaven, which is connected to the sixth seal. Look how important war in heaven is. I mean, I knew it was a big deal, war in heaven, but I never thought about when it happened. Is it a future event? Is it a past event? I didn't know really anything about war in heaven. But now I was beginning to see, wow, that's an important moment. Look at all of the things that happen at that moment. The church is gathered. The 144,000 are sealed because it is now Israel on the clock. It is time for Israel to be grafted back in. And Satan loses his position, and his angels no longer have that freedom that they have. They are bound to the earth. So many things change at that moment. And I was just amazed. I didn't think this is what this channel was leading to. And then the holidays came, and right after the first of the year, for whatever reason, I knew we're supposed to go to the Olivet discourse. I didn't hear a voice. I would love to have heard a voice or seen something or had a dream, but I just knew. And it was strange to me because for 2 years we had been in the book of Revelation. And now we were moving to the Olivet discourse. And I was a little uneasy about it. Even though I always felt like if we could understand the book of Revelation, it would correspond to and support what the Lord was saying at the Olivet discourse. But now we were actually going to do it. And so I wasn't sure what the point was. But after 2 years of seeing how this thing worked, I knew, just read it. Don't analyze it. Don't try to figure anything out. Just read it. Just read it and let the Holy Spirit show you what he wants to show you. This is new to me. This kind of thing never happened before. And it only happens in this area, by the way, just so you know. This has not happened throughout my life, by no means. So I just started reading the 3 versions of the Olivet Discourse. Try to get all 3, but if I got just 2 a day, I'd eat 2 a day. And 3, then read them and start over and just read them. Just read them. And at the end of the week, something popped off that page and it hit me right square between the eyes. For the powers of the heavens will be shaken. And I thought, I've seen that for years. And I never noticed it or gave it any thought. And even right now, I was thinking back then, I don't know what it means. But I know it's something important because he associates that with his appearance. This has to happen before his appearance. It's mentioned in all 3 versions of the Olivet Discourse. Don't let anybody tell you that the versions are talking about different events. No, sirree. This is associated each and every time with his appearance. It's the same event. So what was it I was thinking? Well, fortunately, in 2 of the versions, it's associated with stars falling to the earth. Oh my goodness. This is war in heaven. Just what he was showing us in Revelation, now I find out war in heaven is in the Olivet Discourse. And it's huge. It's massive. It's important. There it is again. Christ is saying this has to happen before I show up with my angels to send them out to gather my elect. This has to happen. And we had just seen how important it was in the book of Revelation. It's so important that the signs, remember the disciples asked, what will be the signs of your coming? So we'll know what to look for. What will be the indicators? The signs that he gives are all related to war in heaven. Now I'm going to put what I've been talking about on hold for just a second to jump over to that point. We're going to get back to this. This is leading somewhere important. But let me jump to those signs in heaven. And I want to correct a mistake I made. The 3 signs that he gives are all in Luke. There will be signs in the sun, the moon, and the stars. And on earth, distress of the nations with perplexity because of the roaring of the sea and the waves. And then the final one where it jumps to all-out fear, men fainting as they see what is coming upon the earth. By the way, I went to the Greek on that and looked, and it literally says fainting and foreboding of the ones coming on the earth, not things like all the versions say. The translators knew this, by the way. The translators came to this passage and said, it says the ones. It says they're fearing the ones coming on the earth. It can't be Jesus because he hasn't shown up yet. This has to happen before he shows up. Who are the ones coming on the earth? They didn't want to touch that. That if they translated that the ones coming on the earth, people would go, well, what are you talking about? What would be coming on the earth? Who's coming on the earth? They didn't want to answer that question. So they went with an alternative definition. Things. Just left it things. And it's the ones. I even went to Young's literal translation, who never backs down. They backed down on this one. They said things. They didn't even want to touch it. Young's literal translation, which is like the gruffest, rudest translation of all. It doesn't care. You know, if the Young's literal translation was walking down the street and it saw a young kid, he'd go, "You're fat. You need to start eating right and exercising. You're going to be a disgusting person if you don't." And its mother would go, "Well, you didn't have to put it that way. And she's your biggest problem because she's letting you do it." She goes, "Who was that?" "Oh, that's Young's literal translation." "Oh, the Living Translation is so much nicer." You know, and even Young's literal translation couldn't pull the trigger on the ones. So what Jesus is saying here, the people are passing out and running for their lives because they see Satan and his angels being cast to earth. This is that's the third sign. And after this is over, after he gives the signs and mentions his appearance, he says, when you begin to see all these things, all three signs, lift up your head because your redemption has just arrived and you're going to see it. It's an amazing moment. The mistake I made, let's go back to the first sign. There'll be signs in the sun, the moon, and the stars. And I've always said, well, check mark, we saw the Revelation 12 sign. I no longer think that's the Revelation 12 sign. And that doesn't diminish the Revelation 12 sign one little bit. I think all three of these are signs of war in heaven. Look how it's connected to the next one. There will be signs in the sun, the moon, and the stars, and on earth, distress of nations. It's going to affect what we see in the heavens, and it's going to affect the world. It is going to manifest itself in all of our reality, heaven and earth. And I think that is probably the last flight out. If there's somebody out there who hasn't entered the kingdom, that's probably where your last chance is, right there. Because it's soon to move from distress to all-out fear. The third one, when they see Satan and his angels being cast to earth. The point is, the Revelation 12 sign is pointing to these signs that are going to be signs of his soon appearance, his immediate appearance. That's how important war in heaven is to us. These signs are the ones he uses that trumpet his appearance. So back to the main point. He showed us something that I never knew. I didn't know it was important in the book of Revelation, and I certainly didn't even know it was present in the Olivet discourse. He wanted us to see that. And yes, it's great information for a handful of people, you and me, on this tiny little channel. It's great. But what I think he really wants us to see is, look how oblivious the church is to this. They don't teach it. Have you ever heard it taught? I haven't. The only time I've ever heard about war in heaven, and I never have heard it associated with the Olivet Discourse, was when a pastor or some sort of prophecy teacher was going through the book of Revelation verse by verse, and then he had to come across it. Other than that, no one talks about this. And look how important it is to him. Look how important it is to Jesus at the Olivet Discourse, war in heaven. It's one of the biggest, most important events that has ever transpired in all of history. War in heaven, and no one's talking about it. He wanted us to see that. Now, we see it, and we go, you're right. And I've sat here and lambasted the church for not seeing it, and I started feeling a little hypocritical this week because I thought to myself, yeah, but I wouldn't have seen it if he hadn't gone out of his way and patiently taught us for 2 years. I would never have seen it either. So yeah, I'm right. The church is deaf, dumb, and blind to it, but so was I just a few months ago. So I'm going to try to tone down my finger pointing. But this is what he wants us to know. He's saying to us, this is coming. And nobody, including yourselves, including your channel that I showed, you didn't know it. Church isn't teaching this. They don't know it. That is a disaster if it continues. And that begs the question, okay, so why would he show that to such a little channel? Because the fact of the matter is, we can't do a stinking thing about it. If you gave me somehow a 5-minute meeting with every senior pastor in this country, and I said to them, what have you told your church congregation how to prepare for and to get ready for war in heaven? Every single one of them would look at me with, what did you say? Did you say war in heaven? What have I, prepare them for war in heaven? They would be like, okay. Well, it wouldn't even make sense to them. Then that's where we are. I couldn't change it. You can't change it. We tried in the past. Remember, we sent out letters? That was a huge disaster. But I'm glad we did it. We can't do a thing about it. We don't have the power. We don't have the reach. We don't have the authority. We don't have even the money it would. I don't know how much money you would need to get a full-blown program to go out there and re-educate all of the pastors. I don't even know if that's even possible, but whatever it would take, we don't have. So why did he give that to us? Why did he just, boom, drop that in our lap? Oh, by the way, since you don't know, this is extremely important, war in heaven. It was extremely important to my son at the Olivet discourse. It's extremely important to the Holy Spirit who wrote the book of Revelation through John. And nobody knows about it. But we can't do anything about it. Are you sure? Are you sure you can't do anything about it? Why didn't he give it to a bigger group? Power, authority, huge reach, millions of followers. They might be able, if that happened to them and the leader, young, good looking, charismatic, whatever, highly educated, he would probably think, we can do something about it. We have the gravitas and the agencies and the infrastructure in place. We could maybe go out there and really change some minds, but we don't. And I think that's exactly why he went to us, because you don't. You can't do anything about it unless you pray. We have about, anywhere from 6,000 to 12,000 views on these videos. Don't kid yourself. Only about 2,000 is my guess actually watch the whole thing and receive it. I have only probably 2,000 people who agree with me and are just as surprised to see the war in heaven having such a seminal position inside the Olivet discourse and in the book of Revelation. 2,000 people spread all over the world, mostly in America, but in a few countries elsewhere. We couldn't even call a meeting, but we could pray. 2,000 prayer warriors, a 2,000 man and woman prayer group. That's dangerous. I mean, how many times have you been in a situation where you wanted prayer for yourself or somebody in your family or the circle of friends, and you rounded up 5, 6, 7 people? Would you pray for them? And you're glad to have that. 2,000 people? 2,000 people sending a prayer up every day to the throne room. Please wake up the church to what is coming. Please let them re-examine the Olivet discourse and see what is coming on the world and why it's important to Jesus and why it should be important to the church. Because if it happened this weekend, he would come upon 99% of the church as a thief. But here's the good news. We know when we pray that, and that's all I'm asking. Just add that to your daily prayer list. Please wake up the church. Turn it over to him, because we can't do it. That's why he wanted us to see our weakness. You're tiny, you're small, you have no authority. Nobody really listens to you. But if you involve me through prayer, you might see something. And I guarantee you there are other people around the world that are already doing that. We would just be adding our voices to that. We're almost the size of a battalion in the military, and that's an impressive little brigade there, So we have some power when we're united in prayer on this thing. But we can know that he is in agreement with that prayer because he said that. He says this to the church of Sardis. If you don't wake up, I'll come upon you as a thief. There are like 2 or 3 Greek words for watch. Sometimes that verse is translated watch. If you don't watch, and watch is fine there, but I went to the Greek to see why the ESV and several other versions say wake up, because that's the first definition for that particular word. Watch is fine, and it's probably in there with wake up in terms of what it really means. But wake up is perfect. If you don't wake up, I will come upon you as a thief. And we're asking for him to wake the church up. He already is for that. When you pray a prayer that he is in full agreement with, how many times do we get to do that? A lot of times we just throw up stuff and we go, we hope that you're in agreement, but your will be done. We know this is his will. He's seeking prayers for this emergency situation. He wants prayer. He wants other Christians who have woken up to pray for Christians who haven't woken up and are still asleep on this matter. They're absolutely thoughtless about it, and they need to wake up. When we pray in the same direction that he wants to go, it's super-fueled. We're guaranteed a favorable response because he wants it. He told us, I want you to wake up. We pray then, wake the church up, wake them up, shake them, do whatever is necessary. You can do it. We know you can. We know you want to. Wake them up, because this is a disaster if they don't. This is a disaster if they don't. Again, if you're giving it to a bigger kind of a organization, they may have thought we could do this. Oh, we'll need his help. We can't even think that. We go, we're helpless, but we'll pray. Pray. That's the only thing we can do. Pray or pray and fast. That's it. That's all we can do. Go to your pastor this weekend and go, Pastor, would you consider getting your congregation ready for war in heaven? I'd love to hear the response. I could pick up the phone and call, a pastor that I really like, Pastor David Jeremiah. Is Pastor David Jeremiah in? Who's calling? This is Stan. Stan, are you a member of the church? No, I'm calling from San Angelo. Are you a friend of the pastor's? No, I've never talked to him before. Stan, can I get him? He's really busy right now. Can I get a message for you to him? Yeah, could you tell him to please get ready for war in heaven? Okay, well, I sure will. Thanks a lot. Have a blessed day, Stan. That's what would happen. I used the old hand phone there instead of anyway, that's what would happen. That's what would happen. But prayer is different. Prayer is different. This is how this channel got started. When I went to him and said, I can't do it. I cannot figure it out. I can't. All I know is they're wrong, but I can't replace their wrongness with rightness because I don't know what's right. I don't know. The book of Revelation is cracked closed to me. I need it cracked open, and only you can do it. Only you can do it. Prayed it, answer. He wanted me to see, you can't do it. Remember that, Stan. You can't do it. You told me over and over, I'm not smart enough. So don't you dare take credit. Got it. This is very similar to that. We can't do it, but we know you can. We know you want to. Last thing I'll show you. The other thing that war in heaven and the sixth seal are lined up with is that strange little event on God's line, right after the silence in heaven. There's an event at the altar where an angel takes a censer filled with the prayers of the saints and then adds to it some fire from the altar, prayer of the saints and some wrath, and he flings it down to the earth. You know what I think that is? That's the moment it begins. That's the moment, and he flings it to earth, and there are noises and thunderings and lightnings, and it says finally, an earthquake. That earthquake, I believe, is the same earthquake that begins the sixth seal. But he wanted to show us your prayers, even in this, are important. Let's pray. Let's pray that the church wakes up so that they don't fall under this situation where God is telling us something is very important to him and the church can't even see it. They do not want to be in Sardis's shoes. If they don't wake up, he'll come upon them as a thief. Let's pray that he wakes the church up and trust him. That's all we can do. That's the only thing we can do. God bless you.